Alright guys, HyDra coming again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, with the big rumours this morning that Toronto Ultra have agreed a deal with the Los Angeles Thieves for the transfer of Scrap and Envoy into that lineup. Scrappy has now given his thoughts about this on stream, certainly implying that yes, this deal is indeed done, commenting on what Toronto should do with their team. And when asked the question, hey Scrap, are you not on that team? Scrap says, oh yeah, for sure. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new, as always. I greatly appreciate it. Of course, the boys were talking the other day as well about snipers, of course, in Cold War, and of course, therefore in Black Ops 6 as well, whether they're going to be allowed or not. You know, I think many of us fans would like to see snipers back properly in competitive play. Whether that's going to happen is, of course, a question. If they got rid of all aim assist on the snipers, as they did in good Call of Duty games, such as in Black Ops 3, then it would probably be perfectly fine. But this is interesting as well. We've got the OpTic Dynasty versus OpTic Texas coming up on the 12th of October. You guys saw this the other day that we talked about it. This picture still does go very hard. I wonder what they're going to play. I know you guys were speculating in the comments, really, because this is before Black Ops 6 launches. Not going to play that. It's not going to be Modern Warfare 3, like, let's be real. So what games are they going to play? Is it just going to be one game? Is it going to be Black Ops 2? Or how do you make it fair? Because obviously the boys on the left here are current Call of Duty professional players, and they've played the last few titles competitively, whereas these boys on the right have not, right? And, you know, these guys on the left, OpTic Texas in their prime, OpTic Legacy, OpTic Dynasty have now been retired. Still, like, could Scump and Karma and Formula, maybe even Crim, could they come back and be a competitive player in the league if they wanted to be? Sure, I definitely believe that. But, you know, they'd have to really grind, wouldn't they? So what game do you put these two teams on to make it fair? Because if you put them on Modern Warfare 3, as in the most recent game, then it's chalked, GG. If you put them on Black Ops 2, what happens there? I mean, you've got legends who played or even won the World Championship in Karma's case back in the day in Black Ops 2. Not a game that Formal played competitively, but a game that these guys would understand on a far better level than OpTic Texas. But then again, OpTic Texas, you know, they are nonetheless like the world champions of this season, right? So it's pretty fascinating what you would do. Would you have them play a number of series across a number of different games? Because any game of the CDL era, I think there's probably only going to be one winner. Any game that you have them play before the CDL came around, then I think it really is, you know, more of a matter for debate, to be fair, on who's actually going to win. So, you know, very excited to see where that one might go. Every time I see Buzzcut Scump, by the way, always catching me off guard here, so I thought it was still pretty funny. As I mentioned earlier today, however, how about this from Clayster? So, Clay, we've talked about his options, whether he goes to the desk, whether he comes back to the CDL, whether he, you know, retires, does content, whatever. There are options out there for Clay, even coaching, general management. You know, Clay has, I'm sure, lots of options on the table for him when he decides to step away. But we know what Clay's like. He still wants to compete on some level, and maybe he finds himself in a similar position to where Crimsix did when he was effectively forced to retire, that there just weren't the opportunities, there weren't the number of teams, there weren't the number of players willing to play with Clay to really make it work anymore, and potentially in the CDL that's not going to happen. But there's now been a couple of times where Clay has basically said, hey, to some Warzone players, look, get me in, I'm going to start practicing, going to start grinding. And in the same way that Shifty TV, as we saw earlier today, is at least talking about potentially trying to make the transition over to the Call of Duty League, whether it's not impossible that Clay could do it the other way around and actually move to compete over in the Warzone side. Because, you know, let's say in some hypothetical world, Shifty or Hisoka or somebody steps away from that kind of dominant team in the Warzone side. Shifty comes to the CDL or whatever. Like, if Clay was up to speed, could he not step into that team and do a very solid job? I'm sure that he could. So that's an interesting one to look at for sure. But let's talk about some of the Rostermania stuff as well. As Octen says, you know, is the league fixed yet? But apparently he's made it worse. And that's the other talking point, right, about this whole Los Angeles Thieves super team, is that effectively we are going to be going from 4 teams that are all capable of winning events. New York, to be fair, for a large swathe of last year were off the pace, but then at the end of the year they clutched up, they won Major 4, they made the grand finals of the World Championship, right? And of course last year we had 4 majors and 4 different championship winners, which was pretty mega, to be fair. Now it looks like we are concentrating that talent on just 3 teams, but who knows what other teams might be there to potentially compete with them. And I just wanted to share what X had to say. This was a hilarious clip actually, because X was going to say one word and then he somewhat changed his mind, but he's making the point on well, team managers, teams building the rosters, not being especially competent at doing so. And that of course is what we implied earlier today with what potentially the Seattle Surge are kicking, but you know, this doesn't just apply to them by any means.
We know.
It's been the
We
same
know
issue
this.
every year.
Especially with Boston.
And we're seeing it every year, repeated every year. But every time someone calls them out, we're like, "What? I agree. This is the move they should have done."
But you
what the
haven't
fuck
offered
are you talking about?
You haven't offered a realistic
These fucking
Boston
people
roster.
are really, really
Hold
bad
on,
at their
hold
job.
on.
No one is disagreeing with you,
Just
but
say it, man.
we can't just go to. We can't just
fucking
go
say
from
it.
team.
I'm saying they're very bad at their job.
We can't just go from team to team and all of us say
Yes, we
collectively
can.
they're really
We
bad at
can
their
go
job.
team
Move
to
on.
team and
Like
say
we still
that.
have
Yes,
to
we
talk.
can.
I just feel like Pat,
No,
if
no.
you-
Look that R all
They're
the way
good.
out to the edge of his
Bro,
tongue.
Pat
Because
also
they're
shows.
really, really bad at their
Bro,
job, Sam. I'm
Pat-
trying to explain this. I've said it year after year
Oh my
after
God.
year.
Bro, shows would be 10 minutes long. We would spend 2
They
minutes
should be
talking
10
about.
minutes long. Like, what do I? That's what I said. I said at the very beginning, we're clip farming. We're literally just rambling about shit that doesn't
now
matter.
really clip.
So as it stands, we don't know so many details of what some of these organizations are planning to do, but there was a rumor now a couple of days ago that especially with the Los Angeles Thieves getting locked in and some of these deals being arranged, the other organizations are now deciding and locking in what their rosters are going to be. This is very interesting though, talking about that Surge team, because there's only been a couple of times in COD history where a player made the grand finals of COD champs and then didn't play a single major the next year. Rambo was that guy, made the grand finals of champs in 2013 and 2014, then didn't play at all in 2015. Of course, an Advanced Warfare came out, and Hixie, the same thing, joins Toronto, gets, wins the event, Major 3, makes the World Championship grand final in 2023, doesn't play again the next year. But apparently they are now going to effectively team up on the Vancouver Surge, and whether you agree with that decision or not, as we said earlier on today, getting rid of Hook for Hixie is an interesting decision, but I get it on some level. At the same time, Rambo was also for sure partly responsible for the Seattle Surge team, now Vancouver, that was formed at the start of last season, where we had, aBeZy on the SMG with RCTs nearly on the AR. So that is inexcusable as far as I'm concerned. But to be fair to Rambo, clearly did a good job turning that team around last year. So maybe it's worth trusting his judgment on this one as well. But certainly X isn't wrong that many of the decision makers in the league over the last few years have had really no idea what they're actually doing. And even Dashy and HyDra are debating the value of the SMGs and the ARs in the game. But let's talk about Scrappy's response basically to this whole situation. So speaking of Hixie, they were talking of this Surge roster and saying, well, is it really that good? Do we really think that Hixie coming into that Vancouver team is the way to go alongside 04? I think there's some value in it, but obviously there's some questions, right, whether that's a good idea or not. So then Scrap says, obviously he's boys with Charlie, right? Charlie Hixie, whatever. Basically saying he doesn't think that Surge is the team for him. He should be going to Toronto instead, because Toronto, they need players, potentially multiple players, right? Who really knows? But that's the theory as it stands, that potentially Insight and CleanX might well stay. They're going to need somebody alongside CleanX potentially. Hixie's been on Toronto before and obviously done well on that team on a pretty similar roster. Scrap's no longer going to be there to our understanding, however. Beans potentially is going to be the man instead. So Scrappy was like, yeah, maybe Charlie shouldn't go to Surge, he should go to Ultra. That would make a lot of sense. But also I think that Ultra might well consider it in the sense that they probably will be looking at players that they've either developed or brought up before. We've seen the same thing with the rumours around Beans. He played for their EU Academy. Players that have been part of their history, Toronto, they might, naturally develop themselves. They might well want to consider bringing back into the team. That might make sense for the fan base and probably for other reasons as well. So Scrap says, hey, Hixie back to Toronto makes sense. And then Method is like, hang on a second, are you not on that team? Like, why are you saying Toronto? Why aren't you saying like, oh, come back and team with me? And obviously also confirming from Scrappy's side that, yeah, that team ain't staying the same. Scrappy said that a while ago, but now this is basically absolutely bang on confirmation. And then Scrap's like, oh, yeah, sure, I'm still on the roster.
On Surge.
I actually think the team's kind of mid, I'll be honest with you, but I mean, Nastie showed out at the end of the year. He was doing his thing, like he played well.
I don't think Charlie fits that team.
And Hixie doesn't, Hixie doesn't really fit the
Charlie
team.
should go back to Toronto.
Yeah, but dude, I'm not even gonna lie. Wait,
You think Charlie should go back to Toronto?
Yeah.
what do you mean by that? Aren't you on Toronto?
Yeah.
Hold up, bro. Hold up, bro. Focus up, bro.
Ultimates
Oh,
if
it's
you
in
want, but you
France.
hide
This is
your
fucking
envoy.
chalked.
Wait.
Wait, what'd you... Hey, Zitty, what'd you say?
I said
Then-
we could do gentlemates if you want. Me, you, a HyDra Envoy.
You're stupid. You're too
I got
stupid,
the
bro.
hill time. I got hill time.
Then
I'll
if
move
you were
to
playing,
France.
I don't think I would ever try to pick you up.
Oh shit, bro.
Why?
I don't know,
'Cause I
I
was
just-
railing you so hard in Cold War, flying off wings and
Oh,
1v2
you were
you.
just
Is
so
that why?
awful.
Oh
Yeah,
my
okay.
fucking god, bro. What the
You were
fuck?
fucking terrible, dude.
I just got here. I just fucking got here, man. It hasn't even been 10 minutes yet. I just went live. Tony, what you been doing?
Nothing, bro. I'm just trying to play some Cold War 8s. We're just not getting started yet.
I'm gonna be honest, bro. I fuck with Cold War, but every offseason we grind Cold War, and I'm just kind of over it. I'm kind of over
Bro,
it.
I
we
love
need
it.
because we need a new COD that we can
Yeah,
play.
we need
still,
it. We do
like-
need
I
a new
love
COD,
it.
bro. We need a new
Yeah,
COD.
nah, there
bro.
is no good ones to go back and play.
You know, Tony, you know what you need to do?
Literally,
You need
that's
to hop
the
on
last
Rocket League, come play threes with us.
Fuck no.
Well-
So I think Scrappy's going to be a happy man about this, right? Of course, it's never ideal to have the team that he was on break up and collapse, especially a very good team that won the championship at the start of the season. But at the end of the year, Ultra's roster last year was not good enough. They probably needed to make some sort of change, I would consider anyway, just to refresh the roster on some level. And now it seems like Scrappy's going to have a pretty ideal way to go. The most zooted AR duo in the entire league, I imagine, is what we have here. And look, Envoy come along for the ride as well. I guess one question is, as BW mentions, how good will this team be with no HyDra if they don't get HyDra, right? The rumor is they're going to try, and if they're successful, wow, I mean, we talked about that. If they don't get HyDra, let's say they keep JoeDeceives, and it's JoeDeceives, Envoy, Scrappy, and Ghosty, you know, one of the best, if not the best AR duos in the entire game, and you know, then the SMG duo is a bit of a question mark potentially still, right, in terms of consistency and other factors. So, like, I think that BW is probably right here that regardless of what happens, this team should be at least the third best. The question, they probably need HyDra to become either the second best or the best, right, over OpTic and FaZe. That would be the argument, but it's always very difficult to say. There's also another interesting point, I suppose, which is the fact that Scrappy will be playing for Drazah's old organization, right? We know that they've still got beef, that ain't going away anytime soon. Scrap and Drazah battling it out in the server. Scrap, of course, has had his number so far in his career on a LAN environment ever since their beef really started to kick off, and obviously, he's going to place Scrappy on the organisation that Drazah won the World Championship with. So there's always that as well, that Scrap effectively is in Drazah's role when he was on that team a couple of years ago. And now, you know, they are likely going to be doing battles. So very much intrigued to your thoughts. Just quickly on FaZe, Tupac, of course, let go from FaZe due to budget reasons. And if you guys ever watched in Infinite Warfare, you guys might remember Modern Warfare Remastered came out at the same time. And instead of watching much Infinite Warfare or even playing much, it was all about MWR for me when that was happening, because I was like, when COD 4 came out, I was kind of like too young to really play it, to be honest. But I absolutely loved MWR for the first few months that was out, and what I'd watch like every night was aBeZy and Tupac playing 2v2s, like on backlot on any map. They were the duo, and yeah, as aBeZy says, my duo for life. Man deserves the best, appreciate everything that he's done for the team, and he says the best S&D player to ever do it. So, free agent, search and destroy analyst, and coach for a team. Been on FaZe for the last couple of years. Was on Huntsman before that. Whether that goes anywhere though, that's a different question. Whether somebody is going to pull the trigger and make that move potentially happen. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.